This week in the AWS Developers Podcast, we're talking about a challenge. Maybe your next challenge. It's to get the 14 AWS certification and the golden jacket. Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you for downloading the AWS Developers Podcast. We are available every Friday morning in all good podcast applications. Don't hesitate to subscribe, to leave a thumbs up or a little star, give us feedback on social networks. We love to read your comments, and this is how we know what type of subjects you like to hear about us as well for the future. Today, I have the pleasure to welcome in this show an AWS Community Builder, Principal Solution Architect, Ivan Casco. Hola, Ivan, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo estás?
Muy bien, gracias.
I cannot record the whole podcast in Spanish. I would love to. I'm still improving my Spanish. So you're based in Dublin, and you achieved something that continues to amaze me, is to get the 14 AWS certification. In this episode, we are going to talk about your journey into that, why, how, and maybe share a couple of your advice for our listeners, how to be certified, maybe only 1, 2, 3, and for the ones that really want to push to the extreme, how to get the 14 certification. Before anything else, congrats. I have to tell you, I have a huge respect for the few people like you that managed to pass the 14 certification, because they are in super different areas of work. You need to be deep into networking, into AI, into development, into DevOps, and that's like totally different role in IT, and I'm genuinely impressed by that. So congrats and thank you for being here. How did you start your AWS career, your AWS journey? How did you get there?
Yes, it's actually interesting. I first heard about AWS when I was 13, 14 years old.
Wow.
At the time, AWS only had like EC2 Classic. I remember like launch of EC2 in Ireland in 2008. And at the time, the network was public, and then in 2009 we had VPCs and private networks.
Yeah, at the time it was public IP address for everybody on a shared network. And maybe you said 2008, so EBS did not exist at the time. You had to assemble your disk image on S3 and boot EC2 with that. Do you remember that? It was, yes. EBS exists already for you? No?
I don't think so at the beginning. The services were slowly launching the first a few years. Yes, it was an interesting era.
Yeah, when we say that, we look like dinosaurs. Okay, fast forward. You study. You did some study in IT or in computer science.
Yes, I actually I started playing with servers since I was 13, 14. Started with Linux engineering and started my career as a Linux system engineer before I even finished my degree. And then, yes, I studied computer science and business administration, and then a master's in IT management. But, well, I was already working.
And you worked in Spain at the time, then you moved to Dublin a bit later?
Yes, I actually started as a Linux systems engineer in Spain, then heard about DevOps automation, started learning more about AWS and private cloud, and got really interested in the speed of innovation you could achieve and build on AWS. And then I moved to the US to build a platform. It was the first business banking as a service offering in the US, built on top of AWS with a microservices architecture. And that's when I decided to get certified, to kind of consolidate my knowledge and made sure that all my bases were covered, and I was, following the best practices and using the right technology.
And I guess when you start your first certification, you never imagined that you would go through 14 different certifications later. Why did you start the first one? Let's start, every journey as a first step. The first step was your first certification. Why did you start? Is it your company asking you? It was a personal project?
Yes, actually, in 2015, I I started learning and bought like 2 online courses about the AWS certification because I wanted to know more about the technology. And at the time, I was working in data centers and also with some public cloud offerings. And companies were seeing the public cloud as a way to extend or boost the capacity, but to have the main service in the data center.
Mm-hmm.
So from that moment on, I learned more about how powerful AWS can be, and just decided to, get my career directed into AWS.
So this is the moment where you choose, okay, the future will be the cloud. I need to learn about the cloud.
Exactly. Yes.
And you start to work with AWS before the certification, or you start the certification to get a first job cloud related?
I actually was already working with some technologies, but not a primarily AWS role. It was kind of a secondary thing to have the AWS knowledge. Like, you might have, knowledge of different technologies or different Linux systems. It was like one more technology to learn, but it was not, I did not think at the time it was going to be my career. The past 10 years, that's what I have dedicated my career to. It's just AWS services.
And which was the first certification that you picked?
The first certification was the Solutions Architect Associate.
It's classical. It's a good starting point into the certification world.
Definitely. It gives you an overview of the different services and some of the core aspects of AWS. And it was already available then. Now there's 12 active certifications. AWS keeps adding or changing the certifications there are. And at the time, there were only 5. So I picked the Solutions Architect Associate and then the Developer Associate, which were the 2 more basic ones.
And related to your job as well, probably.
Yes. They were related to my job. Actually, the SysOps administrator was more related because it was more working as a Linux engineer. But I wanted to learn the other aspects first instead of, taking the one that I would feel more comfortable with.
And at the time, if I remember well, that certification was talking about Chef and Ansible and this type of thing, Puppet.
Exactly. Yes, that was what was used at the time.
Seems like another age when I mention these names, Chef and Puppet. Maybe they are still customer. Maybe you listening to us, you still use it. And it makes perfect sense. But I don't know. I have the impression part of the world has moved to serverless now and microservice. These tools are maybe a bit less relevant unless you're managing virtual machines.
Definitely. You still need to manage change control and configuration management at some time. So at some points, if you have EC2 machines running, it makes some sense. People use Ansible now, but any of the other tools as well, it's a good idea, to keep checking the configuration, make sure it matches what you have in the code.
And when you start with these 2 certifications, at the time you said there was 5, you had already the plan to have the all 5 certification, or it was just, okay, let's get these 2 because now I will be more proficient in my job. Maybe it will help me to find another job. What was your plan at that time?
I think it was just learning about the technology more. And I was not planning to actually take the exam when I got the courses. I just bought the certification courses to learn, but then it took me a year to actually take the tests. And
wow.
Yes, what actually I think convinced me or motivated me to take the test is when I had this job offer from the US, and it's like, okay, I have the knowledge, I know about the technology, but it would be good, to get certified and can be able to prove my knowledge to other people and companies, and then also as a way to confirm myself, and consolidate, make sure, okay, yes, I'm an expert on this, or I have the knowledge that's required. It's not, I'm not missing any steps.
Yeah, it's a proof of self-confidence, self-reinforcement. I study these things. I'm a practitioner. I know these things. I can pass the exam. Obviously, you're becoming an expert at passing certification exam as well with 14. We are going to talk about the exam process itself a bit later in this podcast, but I'd like to understand the transition from 2 to 14. What happened in your mind, in your professional career to say, okay, let's take one more and one more and one more and one more?
Yes, actually, when I started taking the exams, that was at the end of 2016. It was like on this motivation of consolidating the knowledge, and then uh, I took the first 3 associates and started training or learning for the solutions architect professional and the DevOps pro. And every day that I was studying, I would come back to work with new ideas, new architectures, ways to improve the system, use another services, save cost, optimize performance. And everyone that I was working with also realized, like, oh, like, where did you hear about that? Like, how did you know all these things? And it's, yes, I'm studying for the certification. I read this white paper. I read this blog post. So that kind of hooked me into certifications. I passed this 2 certifications and had the 5 at the time. And from that moment on, it motivated me to get more and learn more and expand to other areas. Yes.
Do you remember which 5 it was? So associate architect, developer, architect associate, developer associate, and the 3 others.
It was sysops
SysOps.
administrator, then solutions
DevOps
architect
Pro.
pro, solutions architect pro, and DevOps pro. Yes.
And architect pro.
Yeah.
I remember these. And then what happened? Still thinking in your journey to the 14, and before talking about how to get prepared for an exam, how to pass an exam.
Yeah, so I like to share the whole story. Some people think that when you have all the certifications, you must pass every exam the first try and you must know everything. But that's can be further from the truth, right? So I took these 5 exams, and then AWS started releasing some beta exams for big data specialty, advanced networking specialty, and security specialty. I took the beta exams at the time. There were no good training courses. I did not have the experience on those, and I failed the exams. And
all the 3?
Actually, the big data and advanced networking, the security specialty got retired because of the exam quality. So the certification team took the beta and then decided not to make it public. They worked on a new exam and then released it again.
Yes, and big data was really different from your job. It's a whole new class of knowledge about Hadoop and Spark and EMR cluster.
Definitely. And this was 2017. So the big data at the time, it was a lot of Hadoop clusters, definitely. I did not have the context, but I still tried to pass them, and I didn't at this time. And then life happened. I worked in different jobs, moved to back to Spain, and then kind of restarted my certification career a few years after. I had to renew the certifications, right? Like the certifications.
Yeah, they expire after 2 years. So if you want to keep them, you need to repass a shortened version of the exam.
Exactly. So when I had to retake them a few years after, that's when I said, okay, now there's new certifications. Let's try to keep going. It has been a journey since then, right? I got 14 in last year in 2024, and that's why I got the golden jacket. But it's been a continuous learning since the first certification until now. In my case, it was not to sit down and take all of them in 6 months.
No, of course, we all have a job. We have something to do, and your company is not giving you time to pass all that. How much time you need to prepare a new exam in a field where you're not an expert? Maybe sysops, as you mentioned, was your core job. It's closer to what you do, but something new like security, networking, big data, AI now are good example. How do you approach learning and passing the exam for these?
The key aspect, I think, it's what's your background, and depending on your background, it's going to take you more time or less to prepare for the exam. If you have some work experience, it can be on some projects or can be labs that you are just playing with the technology at home. That's what I have done for most of them. It's easier to pass the exam and learn the AWS aspects, because there will be some AWS specific technologies that you're learning, but also underneath the AWS technology, there's some tools and some other products and some other softwares that you need to understand. or how BGP works, for example, for advanced networking.
It's a good example.
Right. So if you know those concepts in one area, might take you a week, 2 weeks to learn some of the AWS limitations or the service architecture, and then be able to pass the exam. But I think what takes more time is to learn the technologies, how things work, what are the business use cases and the limitations, and that's key for any of these exams.
Are you using online resource like skills.aws or Udemy, Coursera, others?
I have used many, and it has changed in the years. I started with some Udemy courses, then A Cloud Guru, then Cloud Academy. Now I also use AWS Skill Builder, which has some free courses and some paid ones as well, and the practice tests that kind of you can use to practice the real exam before it's similar questions and on the AWS platform.
It's a way to evaluate yourself and your knowledge before you're taking an appointment for the real exam.
Exactly. In my experience, sometimes it helps to take the practice test if it's a field that you already know and you have worked with. To instead of studying a lot, just take the practice test, see in which areas
to evaluate yourself.
you don't know, and then study just those, right? But in most cases, if you're like learning from scratch, you should go through the materials. AWS white papers and blogs are also important, and then you take the test before the practice test before the real test.
Would you say there is a part of continuous learning every day something new about AWS, and then a part which is maybe a bit more intensive to specifically prepare for one exam?
Yes, I think depending on the exam, the specialty exam require specialized knowledge on specific fields, but the other exams kind of focus on specific services, but also cross-pollinate with all other AWS services. So as you learn and go in your AWS learning knowledge, and it can be starting like in the developer, solution architect, associate. Now you, for example, know the shared responsibility model of AWS. That's a key part, for example, as well, of the security specialty. So there's many fields, if you understand the concepts and the underlying, that it is easier to take more tests because you already have that knowledge in your bag.
Did you get some benefits from a professional career perspective of all this certification, maybe to get a new job or to be more proficient in your job? How this study and achievement to pass the exam was beneficial to your professional career?
So I think there are some direct and some indirect benefits. The direct ones, definitely, if you have a certification in your LinkedIn profile, you will be searched by recruiters or get more opportunities, right? Or be recognized by other people. But the indirect benefits, I think, are the most important, is you understand the common language that you can speak with different teams, whether it's like developers, systems engineer, network engineers, security teams, business analysts. Like you are able to understand the concepts and speak about where to use AWS technology in these different areas. And I think that is what really helps drive further opportunities in your professional career.
And you also get into the Community Builder program, so it's probably not linked to the 14th certification, but it helps. Maybe let's start with the basic. What is the Community Builder program from AWS?
Yes, the Community Builder, it's a program where you get resources, you get trainings, you get access to different tools, access to the service teams, to be able to distribute that knowledge and communicate, the benefits, your experience, things that you have learned about working with AWS with the rest of the world. It's just sharing that knowledge outside. So if you want to share your knowledge, but you don't really know how to do it, or get to know the new technologies, the Community Builders program is there to support you. You get some senior people in different areas that can be writing blogs, creating YouTube videos, or many different types of content that you can ask for help or attend the trainings. And I think it is really good to if you want to share your knowledge as a builder.
And there is a private Slack channel where you can exchange together as well. You get invited to community event, community days. This is the summit season. We are in April, May. After the summit and during the summit, my team organized a dinner with the community builder. There is the community launch at the summit where we give speaking opportunities as well to community builder. This is something you're following as well?
Definitely. The networking opportunities is another of the key pillars, I think, of the Community Builder program. Even in reInvent, we have some opportunities to help on the events as well, and in the local summits. Meet with other builders, organize things together, also with the user groups, right? AWS Heroes, AWS Ambassadors. There's other programs that at AWS that we also can interact with and get to know. And
how do we apply for Community Builder? I think it's a self-registration. You need to apply by yourself and list everything you did, and then there is like a committee in my team somewhere in Seattle that decide who can get in and not, and how to join the program.
Yeah, so you just have to create 2 really good pieces of content. It can be a blog post, it can be like a presentation you gave and it's uploaded in a YouTube video. Like there's many different pieces of content that are accepted, and the application is open in January. So you just have to keep an eye on LinkedIn and the AWS Community Builders page. You can sign up to the waitlist actually in the Community Builders page, and then you will get an email and apply in January.
And since how long you joined the program? Since how many years you are in?
Yeah, I actually just joined in 2023 because I started writing content in 2021 and 2022. And it is not, if you don't have anything out there, you have to start creating something. It can be what you can do at the time, the knowledge that you have at the time, and then the expectation is that you will grow over the years, you will improve with the resources that you get. So we all have a little bit of imposter syndrome. Don't let that block you, right? If you're hearing this and you're interested on sharing your knowledge, just write, do the initial step and apply, and then you will grow from there. And yes.
That's not linked to the 14th certification. We wanted to share and to highlight the Community Builder program because you're part of it and it's an important program for the communities at AWS. But let's make it clear, you don't have to be certified to be part of the Community Builder. You need to produce content, reusable, high quality content, such as video, blog post, be part of a user group or a user group leader as well. Can we go back to the certification? Because you mentioned something that attracted my attention. You mentioned the word golden jacket. So what is the story of a golden jacket? When we are at reInvent or at Summit, sometimes we saw people wearing these golden jacket with the AWS logo.
Yes. Actually, the Community Builders program is what encouraged me to get the golden jacket and finish all the certifications, all the active certifications. I heard about the golden jacket first time. I think my first reInvent was 2021, and I saw people walking with this golden jacket that said AWS certified, and I said, oh, that's interesting. Like, what might that mean? I didn't know at the time, right? And then I learned just this year that it was created in a AWS team, Kiri's Abu Ayash, I think it's the right name, as a way to promote the expertise and kind of encourage other people. And it was meant to be, something that stood out. What's that, right? So people would be interested. And actually, if you want to get the golden jacket, you have to get the active certifications. I have 14 active, But right now there's only 12. AWS deprecated some certifications, and you don't have to get um, all of the ones in the past. You cannot take those exams, so they only require the active ones, whatever at the time you are, if you have all the active and current certifications.
But it's not automatic. They don't send you the golden jacket as soon as you achieve the 14 or the 12 certification now. You have to ask for it.
Definitely. There's different ways to get the jacket. If you work at an AWS partner, you can get it through your partner team. If you are part of the AWS Community Builders program as well, you get it as part of the program. And it's initially it was only for AWS employees, right? So they would get it internally as well. But yeah, you have to reach out and ask about someone in the community, and then you can get it.
Yeah, it's funny. From what I know from the history of that program, it started with the partner team, as you mentioned, and it was the partner manager that gave the jacket as a sign of recognition or appreciation to the person from the partner that managed to get all the certification. And then people that were not partners say, "Hey, how can I get that?" And then we create like a jacket store where the people that are certified can purchase and buy their own jacket. And I'm glad that we extended that to community builders as well. So now if you're part of the community builder, you receive the jacket as well. And yeah, it's a bit flashy, but it's a very good sign of recognition. At reInvent or in a summit, we can spot the people with golden jacket from distance. And I don't know, did you work already in an AWS conference with the golden jacket? Did you attract questions, or people are coming to talk with you because of the jacket?
Definitely. Yes, I got mine delivered just before the Dublin Cloud Day last year, October 2024. And I was the only one with the golden jacket on the whole event. So I had a lot of people asking me, what is the golden jacket about? Wanted to take pictures with me, and really interested about like learning about the certifications. It was interesting as well as a way to for me to share back to the community, and let I guess like people know about it that they might not know.
And as you mentioned, it can be an incentive as well to do the extra step, the extra mile, and 2, 3, 4 more additional certification to get the jacket. You pass, it means in your career, you pass dozens of test exam because you had to renew your certification and things like that. Can we talk a few moments about what is an AWS certification exam? You talk about how to get prepared for it, but the day of the exam, what's happening? It can be online, can be physical. Maybe you did both. So what was your experience?
Yes, it's a proctor exam. The duration depends on the exam you take, but you have either to choose physical location where you have a person and you get a computer in a room, or you can take it from home, where you get like video recorded and you have to be alone in a room with no one around to take the exam. And that ensures the safety and the value of the certification.
Yeah, that nobody's cheating.
Exactly. You have to choose to take the exam in a testing center or at home. In both cases, you are proctored and you are watched. You cannot have any electronics. You cannot have screens around, and that ensures the safety of the exam.
Yes, I remember we have to leave all our personal belongings in a small closet, secure closet, my phone and everything. We are almost naked in front of the computer.
Exactly. Yes, you have to also like show your wrist to the camera if you're doing it remotely. And if there's any noises in the room, actually, it can stop your exam. It just happened to me that they were drilling next door, and kind of the exam froze, and the doctor was the proctor jumped on the screen and said, "Okay, like what's going on? Like is someone speaking?" Right. So yeah, the exam day can be a little bit stressful because of that security. So I recommend you take it easy, go to the restroom before, be relaxed and really plan your time on the exam. So there's some strategies I use on the exam day to go through the questions. But the key aspect is you can choose to flag a question if you're not sure and keep going. And it's important that you understand the AWS exam will have some questions that are harder, some questions that are easier, and then some standard questions. So just keep going through the exam as you move along. Flag any questions if you're not sure. And at the end, you can review. You can go back to those and finish it, because the time can be really limited depending on the exam you take.
Yeah, the professional exams have like 3 years or so, close to 3 years, 180 minutes for roughly 60 questions, something like that. So it's quite a rhythm.
Yeah, it can be like 75 questions in some exam.
Wow.
And, yes. And some of those questions are not evaluated. They don't count to your final score.
Yes, they are testing new questions before.
Yes, it has grown and improved a lot over the years. Now the questions have a really good quality, and they are continuously testing with real exams to make sure that the exam quality is the top on the industry.
How do you manage timing there? You fix yourself a limit per question, or just do it intuitively?
So I actually apply a technique. I don't know where I learned it, but it's going through the questions and kind of understanding which of the responses are not correct and kind of mark them as incorrect. You can actually take notes in a whiteboard. It's called whiteboard tool in the exam system, but you can type notes. So I mark the questions that are incorrect with an X. If I'm not sure, I put a question mark, and if I'm sure, like I put an O. That's the correct answer. Some questions are multiple questions. Now there's new question types from AWS, where you have to order or you have to pick, connect different things. But the idea is read really well the question, the business use case. If it's asking you to optimize for cost or for reliability, you can start to discard some of the bad answers. And then if you're not sure about which one is correct, it's okay to choose one, flag it, and then you can come back to review it later. There's no penalty for guessing in the exam. But
yeah, that's a good point. So if you answer incorrectly, you don't get negative points.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. But it is also like a really high score depending on the exam. It can be like 700, 750, the minimum score to pass. So you can not just pass the exam by guessing the whole exam, right? But it's okay to we all have background and experience. So sometimes the question and the answer that you feel it's right, it will be the right one. But if you're not sure, you can flag it and come back later.
The technique you said is very important. So you have multiple choice, and typically there are 4 options. You have to pick one or sometimes 2. For this type of exam, often there are candidate answers that are called distractors, that are there to distract you from the correct answer. And as you mentioned, if in the phrasing of the question, it says optimize for cost, there are probably 2 out of the 4 that are real distractors that you can eliminate very, very easily. And then the reality, the good answer will be between the 2 remaining ones. And then you have to be super careful about the details, because it might be 1 word difference between the 2 answers. So reading them carefully, understanding what is the difference, remember what is the original questions, what you have to optimize for, what you have to search for, helps you to pick up the correct answer. So there is a technique as well to answer this type of exam question.
Definitely. And one thing I also like to share is that I have not seen a single case where a question is trying to trick you. If you don't understand the question, or you are thinking it's trying to trick you, you have to learn the phrasing again and really understand the use case. It's really helped. The certification exams in AWS really helps you to understand the business requirements and what is the right solution to apply there. So that's what you should focus on during the exam.
And also there is no need to remember numbers like the maximum number of memory of instance EC2, blah, blah, or the exact price per gigabit. Everything that this number can change over time, the quota and things like that. But there are questions, I see you nodding a bit. There are questions about where you need to understand the main metrics, or saying, okay, S3 storage is cheaper than XYZ or something like that. You disagree with me?
It really depends on the level of the exam. In the specialty and professional, you need to really understand some of the hard limits from AWS, right? So it's for example, S3 by prefix, right? There's like 3,000 requests by prefix that you can make. That's a hard limit. It's a design limitation of the system, and AWS might put it in the exam.
Like the 15-minute compute for Lambda.
For Lambda, exactly. Yeah, so those key, service limits, because it's what you need to architect and make the right decision. It's never to trick you to the small details. It's more about service limits.
Agree. But for Lambda, for example, the question will not be how long can the Lambda function run. It will be like, you have to design a compute batch job that runs for 1 hour and a half. What are your options to deploy it? So Lambda containers, blah, 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 blah. And because it's 1 hour and a half, you have to know that Lambda is not a good fit. It's more this type of phrasing rather than remembering the numbers and the limits.
Exactly. Yes.
What was the hardest exam for you? Singular or plural? What were the hardest exams for you to pass?
I think the two most challenging ones were advanced networking and then the machine learning specialty. The advanced networking, I actually, as I mentioned, I failed.
The first time?
Yes. So I failed the first time many years ago, the advanced networking. I did not have that experience in networking. And you really, for the specialty exams, you need to understand the underlying technologies and the AWS aspects of it. So in advanced networking, you do need to learn BGP communities, how like to build hybrid networks between like data centers and AWS. And it's something I did not get exposure to at work. Many people will not be able to. So I first had to really learn the technologies, take a few courses, then build labs to try to replicate with virtual networks and home with how I could the environment to kind of play with it. And it's a hard thing, now 2025 it's easier to connect like with virtual networks, but that can be tricky. If you don't have experience on the exams, there are some people that think you can just study and pass for the test and that's it, but that's not the way I like to approach it. I really like to understand and cover all the
first,
apply it and do the labs. So I think that's why advanced networking, it's been the hardest exam so far for me. Maybe someone has a networking background, right? CCNA or has other like networking expertise.
And then for them it will be easier than for you. But
exactly.
They will struggle on something else.
So it, as I mentioned, it really depends on your background, the certification. And then machine learning. Actually, I learned about AI in university and I kind of understood some of the concepts, but it's really deep, the machine learning specialty into SageMaker, and how to actually like build models, how to deploy them, how to run, how to operate them. So you need to really understand all the different algorithms and all the basics of, machine learning, deep learning, and how it's built in AWS.
And as I said at the beginning, it's a real stretch depending on your job role. If you're system admin, that's not your daily job. And beside the specific techniques, what did you learn about the philosophy of passing certification exam, the benefits of it? So not really the technical concept like BGP and deep learning, but this journey of 14 AWS certification, what did you learn from it?
I had some learnings that were not only professional learnings, but also like personal growth by taking the exam. So, for example, the most common mistake I see in people, and I did it myself as well, it's to not feel secure and over-prepare for the exams. So I tended to, wait a long time to book the test.
Register. Mhm.
And then I learned as soon as you pass the courses, take a few practice tests, and you maybe get 80-85% there, just book the exam. That will give you the extra motivation to do like the rest and pass it on the day on the exam. And the exam can be harder, can be easier depending on when you take it. So even if you fail it once, just go over the topics that you didn't know, and then try again. I think you can take it after 14 days if needed. So yeah, that's another personal learning. In the past, I failed an exam and said, okay, I'll do this later. Then life started happening, and then I think that was from the personal growth. It's like, just trust yourself, don't over prepare, and yes, you can do it. And if you get 730 out of 750, someone just sent me a message yesterday that I have been helping them with the exam, and I said, that's like great news. Like, you are almost there, right? You just need a little bit more studying. So don't feel desperate. Just review these topics. Let's work on these concepts and let's book it again.
That's really good and wise advice for those of you that want to start their journey. Either to pass only one exam or to pass multiple of them. Thank you, Ivan, for sharing that. Last question. What is your future? If there is a new certification, renewals, are you going to continue to tackle the AWS certification challenge, or you want to tackle something else? I was talking at reInvent with someone else that has a golden jacket and saying, no, I'm starting the Google certification or the Microsoft certification. What's your plan?
AWS keeps sometimes changing their certification. So, for example, they just released the Machine Learning Associate and AI Practitioner last year in October. I passed both of them during the beta, and then they give you this early adopter badge, which is really cool if you pass it within some point. So I will keep the certifications that I have active and renewing them, and if there's any new ones, take them. And now, this past few years, I'm learning a lot about AI. And working with some data engineering technologies. And also I'm interested in learning about other clouds, but not right now to maybe get the certification at some point. I love AWS, and that's where I dedicated my career. So that's what's important to me now. And also, mentoring as part of the AWS Community Builders, I have really felt that support, and that my voice is heard, and that is needed also to for other people to be interested. So I'm now giving talks. I've just did a speaker training with AWS called AWS New Voices, and it's also open to people from the AWS user groups that might be interested. So I'm gonna be spreading the word, and I'm also mentoring people in the AWS community that are might have challenges or interested about certification. So I do some like free 30-minute sessions just to try to help out and give something back to the community.
Paid forward.
Exactly.
Give back to the community. That's super important. It's a very wise and good conclusion for this conversation about your journey from 1 certification to 14 AWS certification, and the path to get your golden jacket and being member of the AWS Community Builder. Thank you, Ivan, for sharing your insight and your passion with the listeners of this podcast. I really appreciate the conversation. And again, I'm impressed by you and all the other golden jackets holder for the achievement, that because I had 5 certifications at some point of time. At the time there was not more than that, but between 5 and 12 or 14 there is a gap, a lot of work and preparation. So congrats for that.
Yes, thanks so much for the opportunity, and I hope this encourages people to leave that imposter syndrome at home, take the exam, learn, share your knowledge, right? Every single person has something that they can contribute to, and we were all juniors at a time, and someone might guided us in a direction. So I hope this encourages you to learn and pass some certifications. You don't have to take all of them, but just start the journey.
With one. Exactly. Start with one. Muchas gracias, Ivan. Ivan Casco, your community builder principal essay. Thank you for having listened to this episode until the end. See you next week, next Friday for another episode. But now, go build.